Hi, in this playlist we're going to be looking at the Edexcel November 2018 Paper 2 Higher Tier, and I'm going to aim to complete this whole paper in roughly about 3 or 4 videos, each lasting about 20-25 minutes or so. Please do stop the video, have a go at each of the questions, compare your solutions. Should give you roughly about an hour's worth of fairly focused revision. Hope it's useful to you. If you're not sure about anything, always add a comment below. I'll always come back to you, and I look forward to seeing you inside the video. Hi, in this particular video we're going to be looking at the November 2018 Paper 2 Higher Tier for Edexcel. So please do stop the video, have a go at each of the questions and compare your solutions. I'm going to aim for this video to be about 20-25 minutes or so in length, so it should give you roughly about an hour's worth of fairly focused revision. Okay, so let's move on then to question number 1, which is a Venn diagram. So with the Venn diagram, we're told that the universal set is even numbers between 1 and 25. So what might make sense at this point is just to simply write them out. Okay, so all the even numbers are going to be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22 and 24. And then really it's a case of putting these numbers in the correct locations on the Venn diagram. So if we look at set of A, which is 2, 8, 10 and 14, you might notice that in B we've also got the number 8. So 8 is going to go into both A and B. So it's A and B. Now, in this particular case, it's also in C. So there it is. Okay, you can see here we've used 8 for that number, which is in the middle there. So that's taken care of that one. Okay, so let's have a look then at set A. We've got 2. Okay, well, 2 is just in set A. So I'm going to put this in to just in set A. Okay, so that's dealt with that one. And then we've also got 10. Okay, so 10 is again just in set A, which is there. Okay, and also 14. So what we've dealt with now is 2, 10 and 14. So 2, 10 and 14. Okay, and we've also dealt with the number of 8, which is in all 3 sets. Okay, let's move on to a set of B then, which is 6. So 6 is just on its own in B. Okay, and there it is. All right, get rid of that one. And also 20. Now 20 is also in set C. Okay, so 20 and 20 here, which means that it's going to be in this location here. Now bearing in mind it's not in set A, so therefore it's not within this area, it's just in this area, which is B and C. Okay, so what have we dealt with? Well, we've dealt with 20, there we go, and we've also dealt with 6, which we've done previously. Okay, let's have a look at set number C, or set C. Okay, so 18 is just on its own, as is 22. Okay, so 18 and 22, so we've got 18 and 22. Okay, now you'll notice that there are some numbers now that are left out of the universal set. So they're the numbers that are going to go in the outsides, which is going to be 4, 24, 14 and 16. So I'm just going to check that. I've got 4, 24, sorry, not 14, 12, I beg your pardon, 12 and 16. There you go. It's always worthwhile checking these sorts of things. I do apologize for that one. Okay, so that will give you 4 marks. Let's have a look then at the probability. So it's find the probability in part B that the number which is chosen at random is a member of the set A and B. Okay, well, the only member of the set that's A and B is actually this number here, which is one number. Okay, so it's just one number. It's not 8, it's just one number because we're looking at the probability. So it's 1 out of the total amount of numbers that are within the universal set. So if we look at the universal set, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 numbers altogether. So the probability that it would be a member of A and B is going to be 1 out of 12. Okay, and that would be the answer to that particular question. Okay, I hope that's being useful to you. It's a bit of a tricky one, I think, to start off with for question number 1. Let's move on then to question number 2, which deals with something a little bit more straightforward, which is a scatter graph. Okay, so with a scatter graph, what we've got then is 2 questions. 2 things that are wrong. Well, hopefully you'll be able to see the most obvious thing that's wrong, which is the line of best fit, because actually the line of best fit on this would be a line that would go, and it's a bit difficult on the video, but something like that. It's a line that's equidistant amongst the points as much as you possibly can. So the line of best fit has been drawn incorrectly, and you just simply write that into the line here. So if I put line of best fit, and you can put drawn incorrectly. Okay. The second issue, now bear in mind it is a 2-mark question, so the second problem, I wouldn't want to kind of guarantee this every single time, but these sorts of questions where you are looking at how accurate these graphs are, and any sort of graph, whether it's scatter graph or bar chart or something like that, usually, I can't hand on heart say this, but usually do have a quick look at the axes. And what you might notice is that there are 20 difference between this one and this one, but only 10 difference between these. So actually this is incorrect. This shouldn't be 140, it should be 150. So if I put something like 150 placed or not placed on x-axis, which is the height. Okay, so something like that would be perfectly fine. If you want to draw an arrow to it or something like that, that's absolutely fine. It will give you the full 2 marks. Okay, let's move on then to question number 3. Please, as before, stop the video, have a go at these questions, compare your solutions. So question number 3 is really a parallel lines type question, and really what we're being asked to do is to find the angle x. Now, in order to find x, we've got to find this one and this one, because effectively we've got a triangle in here, and the angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. So we can use that fact, but in order to do that, we do need to find this one first and then this one. Okay, so let's have a look at angle BEG. So this is going to be this one. Okay, so if I write in here, hopefully this will come out on the video. Okay, we've got enough. Yeah, just making sure we've got enough lineage there. Okay, so angle BEG. Okay, well, BEG is going to be equal to 180 degrees minus 135. Now, the reason that is because 110 plus 25 is 135. Okay, so therefore, angle BEG must be equal to 45 degrees. And that's because angles on a straight line equal 180 degrees. Okay, so hopefully you can see there's a straight line along here. Okay, all the angles will add up to 180 degrees, so therefore it means that BEG, which is this one here, is 45 degrees. Okay, hopefully that's all right for you. All right, now the next one then is just a little bit trickier, and it's something that I guess you would need to spot, but bearing in mind that when you've got parallel lines, generally speaking, and again, I can't guarantee this, but generally speaking, there is some sort of alternate or corresponding angles. Now, if you see that actually 45 add 25 is 70 degrees, what it means then is that we can say that this angle is also 70 degrees. Now, the reason we can say that is because this angle is angle ABE equals 70 degrees. Now, the reason we can do that is because it is alternate to angle BEF. Okay, now just a bit of a clearer explanation. You probably wouldn't need to do this on the actual exam paper, but just a bit of a clearer explanation. You've got two parallel lines, okay? You've got this line, which is this line here. Now, 45 add 25 is 70 degrees, so therefore this angle at the top must also be 70 degrees. Okay, so that's an alternate angle to angle BEF. Okay, so therefore we've now got the same situation as we had before, where we've got a straight line ABC, okay, which is this line along the top. Okay, so what it means now is we can work out this angle at the top here. Okay, so angle EBG, okay, which is EBG, is this angle here, is going to be equal to 180 degrees minus 70 minus 35, which is going to equal 75 degrees. Okay, and that's again because angles in a straight line or on a straight line, I wish I could write better, but you get the idea, equals 180 degrees. Okay, so at long last now we know that we've got this triangle where we've got an angle here at 45, an angle here at 75, and then we can work out x by taking that away from 180 degrees. So therefore, if I just write this at the very bottom here, we're going to have angle EGB, I'll get that eventually, which is angle X, which is the one that we're actually looking for, is going to be 180 minus 75 minus 45. So 75 is this one and 45 is this one. Okay, and that's going to equal 60 degrees. Okay, which is because angles in a triangle add to 180 degrees. Okay, right, so a lot of work in this particular one, but it's fairly okay. You do get these kind of questions on a fairly regular basis, so this will be 60 degrees. Okay, and that would be the answer to this particular question. Okay, hopefully that's been okay for you. Please do add a comment below if you're not sure about anything. There are some other additional videos within the channel that you can have a look at as additional examples if you need them. Okay, let's have a look then at an extremely popular GCSE type question, particularly on a calculator paper, which is compound interest. So we seem to get compound interest on a fairly regular basis. Okay, so Ali invests £2,000 in a cash savings account and he's going to get 2.5% per annum interest. Okay, now both of these are compound interest, so I'm going to use the formula that I would always use for compound interest. So let's have a look at Ali. Okay, so Ali, he's got £2,000, okay, which is his original amount. And if you have a look at my video on compound interest, you'll see I always use the same formula every single time. So the multiplier is going to be 2.5% per annum. Now, what you've got to imagine is that that's exactly the same as saying 102.5%. Okay, so 100% of the money is the money that you give to the bank, and the additional 2.5% is the thank you that they give to you for having your money. Okay, so 102.5% is basically the same as saying 102.5 divided by 100. Remember that percent means out of 100. So therefore, the decimal equivalent of 102.5% is 1.025, and that's the multiplier that we use. Okay, so with all of these types of questions, you need to be able to convert the interest rate to a decimal multiplier. Now, the final little bit of it is the value of n, which is the number of years. Now, this is going to be 3 years. Okay, so we put that into a calculator, and what we're going to get is 2153.78. Okay, now we're being asked at the moment to work out how much interest, who will get the most interest at the end of 3 years. Well, in Ali's particular case, he's put £2,000 of his own money in, and then he's got £2,153.78 back again. So his actual interest payment, if I take away his original 2,000, is going to be £153.78. And if I just put a note in here that that is the interest payment. Okay, and then pretty much we do exactly the same with Ben. So let's have a look at Ben's income. So Ben is going to be, again, original, which in Ben's case is going to be £1,600, 1,600, multiplied by the multiplier. Okay, now again, it's 103.5%, so 103.5%, which as a decimal is 1.035. Okay, so 1.035, and again, the multiplier n is the value of 3. Put that in your calculator and you're going to get 1773.95. Okay, now again, we're only really interested in the interest that Ben is going to get versus the interest that Ali gets. So remember that Ben actually only put £1,600 in. So 1,600. So therefore, the interest that Ben made was £173.95. So actually, he made more interest on this particular investment. Okay, despite him putting less money in, he made more interest. Okay, so who would get the most interest at the end of 3 years? Well, Ben would achieve more interest, or most interest. Okay, however you want to word it. Okay, hopefully that's okay for you. It's a 4-mark question, very, very typical calculator type question, and they will compare compound interest rates or compound versus simple interest, something like that. Okay, so then it says right at the very bottom here, and this is one of these kind of 1-mark throwaway type questions, and it'll say, in the 3rd year, the rate of interest for the shares account is changed to 4%. Does this affect who will get the most interest by the end of 3 years? Okay, well, it won't, because if we go back to this, they're referring to this, which is actually Ben's investment. So actually, if anything, Ben will get more money because his interest rate is going to go from 3.5% to 4% because he's in the shares account. Okay, so you need to just add a line to that effect. So I would put something like, no, Ben will increase from 3.5 to 4%, okay, and will still get more than Ali. Okay. So something like that. I mean, obviously, when you're in the middle of an exam, you can write things a little bit better. And certainly, I'm sure your handwriting is much better than mine. Okay, so let's move on then to question number 5. We're about 20 minutes into the video, so we're going to do a couple more questions just to see how we get on. I'm going to aim for about 20-25 minutes, something like this, on this paper. Okay. Okay, on to question number 5. So we've got a diagram shows a floor in the shape of a trapezium. Okay, now, again, I can't guarantee these sorts of things, but I can almost say that every time you see a trapezium, without reading the rest of the question, it's always worthwhile just working out the area. Okay, because you're gonna have part of the area of the trapezium in any question that deals with the trapezium. I'm not sure about that, and I wouldn't want to guarantee it, but certainly it happens quite a lot. So without reading the rest of the question, I'm going to say that the area of trapezium, Okay, now the way I would do it would be the formula half A plus B times H. Okay, and I have seen various different ways of doing this. A plus B divided by 2, or as a fraction over 2 multiplied by H. That's perfectly fine. What you could do is you could also divide this up into its component parts, and you could have sort of area A, triangle A, rectangle B and triangle C if you wanted to, and just kind of add those things up together, and that would work perfectly well. However, I personally would tend to use the formula, and it's a useful formula just to remember. What we mean by it is that A is the 10-meter line across the top, B is the 16-meter line across the bottom, and H is the vertical height, which is 7. So if I put that information into this formula, I'm going to get a half. A is 10, plus B is 16, and H is going to be 7. And when I calculate that, I get 91 meters squared. So 91 meters squared is the overall area of the trapezium. Now I can go back then to having a look at the particular question, and what it says is that we've got this 5 litre tin of paint costs that, well, that's fine, but then it says 1 litre of paint covers an area of 2 meters squared. So really, if we know we need 91 meters squared covered, we need to work out how many litres of paint we actually need. Okay, well, if each 1 litre covers 2 meters squared, so therefore the number of litres is going to be equal to 91 over 2, which is 45.5 litres of paint, which is actually what John will need in order to paint the floor. And then really it's just a case of knowing that, figuring out how much paint we need to buy. Well, effectively, if we need 45.5 litres and each 5 litre tin costs that, then actually we're going to need 10 tins of paint altogether. Okay, so that's going to be 10 tins of paint. Now the reason that is because each 5 litre tin of paint, so 45.5 divided by 5 is going to give us 9 point something or other. So 5 into 45.5 is going to give us 9, and then we've got 9.1. So actually we're going to need 9.1 paint tins, but we can't have 0.1 of a paint tin. We've actually got to buy 10 tins altogether. Okay, so how much is 10 tins going to cost us? Well, 10 tins of paint, so 10 tins of paint is going to be equal to, each tin is 16.99 multiplied by 10, so that's going to be £169.90. Okay, so in answer to the question, unfortunately, John doesn't have enough money. Okay, so hopefully that's okay for you. We're going to do the last question, I think, now, which is going to be moving on to question number 6. And question number 6 is all about gradient of a straight line. So we'll move on to that. And then from there, we'll probably stop, give you a bit of a break. Please do, however, have a go at each of the questions in this video and then compare your solutions. So question number 6, which is going to be the last one in this, is going to be a gradient question. So A is the point with coordinates that, and B is the point coordinates of that. The gradient line is of AB is 3. Work out the value of D. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, we've got a couple of different ways of doing that. What I can do first, I think what I'm going to do is work out actually the equation of the line. Okay, so effectively what we've got is a line that's like this, and we've got 5 along to 5 and up to 9, let's say, is about there, and that's point A. Okay, along to D and up to 15, okay, something like there, which is point B. So we got some line that looks roughly like that. Now, I know it's a positive direction line because the gradient is positive. So what I'm going to assume is that D is greater than 5. In other words, this is 5 and this is D. Okay, so I know that D is going to be a bigger number than 5, but nevertheless, I'm going to use the coordinates and the gradient, at least of point A, in order to work out the equation of the line. So what I'm going to say is that when we're at point A, which is 5, 9. Okay, I'm going to use y equals mx plus c. Now, what this will allow me to do is to work out the equation of the line, which is this point here is c. Okay, so I can say, well, y is 9. The gradient is going to be 3, which we're told, and then the x value is going to be 5 plus c. Okay, so 9 is equal to 15 plus c. If I minus 15 from both sides, I get c equals minus 6. Okay, so the actual line is y equals 3x minus 6, and that's the actual line. So in other words, I've actually drawn that very badly because effectively this would be a negative number. So the line is a lot steeper. It's something like that where this is minus 6. Okay, so let's then, if we want to find out the value of D, well, the value of D is basically the X value. So if I want to then use this information and say, well, I know this is the equation of the line. I know I've got 2 points on it, so therefore it's the same line. And I can say, well, when I've got D and 15, which is this one here. Okay, I've got all the bits and pieces that I need. I know that y equals 3x minus 6. So therefore, I can plug in the information. So y is going to be 15, and 3 times D or X, whichever I'm looking for, okay, minus 6. So I've got 15 equals 3D minus 6. Add 6 to both sides, and I'm going to get 21 equals 3D. Divide through by 3, and I'm going to get D equals 7. Okay, so in actual fact, the answer to the question is that D equals 7. Okay, now that is also good for me because I mentioned before I knew that D was going to be a greater value than 5. Okay, and it's a fairly steep line. A gradient of 3 is quite steep. Okay, hopefully that's okay for you. There is another way of doing this. You could, if you wanted to, work out y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1 as the gradient line if you wanted to, and that is covered in some of my other videos, but I just felt on this particular one I was just going to use the normal y equals mx plus c. Okay, I hope it's been useful for you. Please do add a comment below if you're not sure about anything. This is question number 6. We're going to start the next video from question number 7 onwards, and I'll look forward to seeing you inside the video.